Our meeting tonight is now open for sharing testimonies of healing through Christian Science. Elizabeth from New Hampshire, go ahead.
Yes, good evening, and thank you for those wonderful readings tonight. I would like to express my gratitude for all the very inspired testimonies that have been given on Wednesday nights. A recent meeting ran the gamut from healings of physical problems, poison ivy, eye maladies, to mental issues, depression and self-doubt, human willfulness, lost lambs in England, discord in the household, and even child abuse, knowing when to speak and when to be silent or hold one's tongue, even the resolution of an overflowing toilet, proving that the day holds numerous and endless opportunity for application of God's law of harmony. Which is so awesome. It occurred to me recently that obedience to God includes not believing for an instant things that we know are not of God, in spite of any appearances to the contrary, not accepting as truth that which we know from our teaching and experience is merely false belief. And one of the readings tonight from Mrs. Eddy from the Message for 1901 said, "So long as we indulge the presence or believe in the power of sin, it sticks to us and has power over us." That really stuck out to me. The great power of our God described in this week's lesson is to be acknowledged and praised all day and in every way. And as this week's lesson says, amen and amen. In other words, what is left? Absolutely nothing, because all is God. Thank you so much, and good night.
Thank you. Betty from California, go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Thank you so much for the music and for the readings tonight. They were really good. I would like to express my gratitude for the demonstration of getting a new car. Our van was having some major issues, and it was clear that it was time to purchase a new vehicle. I called a Plainfield practitioner about this, and she said she would help and to expect the best car, the best outcome, etc. So we went looking and found a car and bought it, but that's not the end of the story. The next day, we realized we had gotten the wrong model, and the top-of-the-line model had several features we had not previously realized were available. I called the practitioner and told her what happened, and we realized we had accepted less than the best, and she said to stay proactive and not be tempted to accept less than the best. We called the dealer and explained our situation. Now, mind you, California law does not let you just change your mind when you buy a new car. The dealer told us that they could do an exchange. The price would be higher as it was a more expensive model that we were looking to buy. And to come in and they would all work out the details. The dealer called around, and the model we wanted would likely be available in about 2 months. Could we wait? And we said, of course, yes. And it actually showed up about a month and a half later. And it was everything and a bit more than we wanted, including the color. They wrote up the new contract, backed out car number 1, put in car number 2. They even applied the payment we made to car number 1 to car number 2. The new car number 2 did cost more money, but God helped out with that too. We had more money become available to us at the perfect time. So we ended up with the best car and the best outcome and a lesson learned about not accepting less than the best. We're very grateful for the practitioner help, for God, for Christian Science, and for Mary Baker Eddy and Christ Jesus. Good evening.
Thank you. Linda.
Thank you very much for the readings tonight. I want to express my gratitude for all that this church does to help us stay on the straight and narrow, so that we could be alert to the many ways that come to all of us to try to get us to stop working for God. As we are taught here, they are tailor-made for each individual. Early on, one of the tools I was given was to make a covenant with God and to refresh myself often with it, to keep my focus on God so as to keep going and not be deterred. I'm very grateful that I was given that early on. We are given many examples of the ways air operate to keep us alert so we can stand up to these distractions and face them down with prayer and demonstrate. One of the lessons that I learned from the sudden snowstorm challenge that I had given a couple weeks ago as a testimony was handling discouragement. And actually, last week during our Wednesday meeting, the readings on You Have Divine Authority for Healing the Sick, I got even a deeper appreciation for that lesson, because what I realized was that no matter what gets thrown at us, any problems, they're nothing compared to the opportunities that we are given here to learn and understand Christian Science and its healing power. I mean, there's nothing comparable to it. I'm very grateful for the continual instructions from my Plainfield practitioner and the power of choosing joy and gratitude and memorizing citations so that we have them available under pressure. I often remind myself of the stories in the Bible and, of course, Mrs. Eddy's incomparable struggles, to be reminded how to face these struggles and keep going. One story that helps me a lot, and I turn to often, is Nehemiah, who was building the wall and was tempted and threatened many times to get him to stop. And his answer was, quote, "I am doing a great work. Why should I come down from the wall?" End quote. One of the several lessons I learned from the storm was not to take these things personally and to stand firm no matter what you're doing in following God's purpose and work. I'm so grateful to be part of this mission and to be here this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Rebecca from Indiana, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Happy to be here. I'd like to give my gratitude for a healing in our family. There was my stepdaughter a couple years back kind of got upset with us and said she didn't want to talk to us for a while. And it ended up going for about 3-4 years or more. Then that was kind of, very hard. It was shocking. That first year she didn't call my husband on his birthday or on Father's Day, and then it led into the holidays. And it was just kind of, heartbreaking. And about this time I'd been really working with this church here in Plainfield and listening and learning a lot. Extremely grateful for all of you. So last Thanksgiving, we found out she had gotten engaged. And I was really down and upset that, this was going on and we couldn't be a part of it. And so I talked to my husband. I said, I think I'm going to write her a letter. And he said, no, I'd be so upset. She doesn't want anything to do with this. Just let it go. And I thought it just wasn't sitting well. I thought this has gone on too long. Both sides are upset with each other, and I know they deeply love each other. This was just crazy. So I talked to the Plainfield practitioner here, and we worked on things. And I decided, it was a Sunday morning. I woke up about 4 in the morning, and I wrote out a text to her, congratulating her and telling how much we love and miss her, but we're very happy for her. And I sent the text. And this was hard because, I mean, it just was, not knowing what was going to happen. But the practitioner had told me that to only see her in the true light of love. We can only know the love of her, and she can only see us with the same love that we really knew about each other. And I stayed with that, and that's all I'd been thinking about, how much we loved having her in our life. So, and this, like I said, it was about 5 in the morning when I did send the text on the Sunday morning, and she did respond back, and it was a very loving text and wanting nothing more than to have us back in her life. Well, my husband had gotten up about that time when we had the church talk for an hour, and then church was on, and he always sits down and listens to everything. And it was a very nice lesson. And when it was over, I quietly looked at him and smiled and said, okay. I said, I text Kylie. And he started to get upset. No, I told you not to do that. And I said, she texts back. Now listen. And I read the text to him. And both of us were crying because it was just really lovely and harmonious. So I asked her, I texted if she'd like to go out to dinner or talk sometime, if we could meet up. And she said she would love nothing more than that. And she apologized even in the text, and she had been really working and praying to God too about all of this. So that was nice to know. So when we did, I asked, when we were going to meet up, we decided to come here at my home. And I said, I'll make lunch and come on over. So we did, and I had a nice lunch making it. And Mark goes, oh, she'll probably only stay 30 minutes. I don't know why you're doing that. But I just kept knowing, I thought, I'm not letting air come in and say this or that or whatever. We love each other. All of us love each other, and we're staying with that. And God is our true parent. So when she came in, we all hugged. It was harmonious. Everyone was happy. We had a good lunch. She stayed 4.5 hours. I don't think she even wanted to leave then, but it was time for her to go. So it was very, so kind and sweet the way it went. Then we got to meet her fiance, very nice gentleman. They've dated for 5 years. All of us got along well. Then we met his parents. They do live in Florida. And because we didn't really know how they were going to accept us, but everything went just very nice, very harmonious and lovely. And we leave Friday to go to Florida. That's where she's having her wedding. And we're getting prepared to go, and everything's just went beautifully. And I can't thank you enough for this church. It's just been amazing to me. All the work that all of you do. And it's just, I'm so grateful. I've learned so much, and I'm in awe of this church. I wish everybody that was in Christian Science could find you, because you're doing a tremendous healing work, and I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. Gary.
Thank you, Amanda, for those fine readings tonight. I'd like to say how grateful I am for all that I have learned over the years in this church, through our lessons, through the classes that we've had over the years. They have helped me understand so many things that are in our textbook that I just never did understand. I had an experience, it was a few years ago, but I remember it very well. I woke up in the middle of the night one night with a very severe sore throat, coughing, really couldn't sleep, and I was in a great deal of pain. But the thing that came to me was something that I had gotten from a class that recently. There was a statement in that week's lesson that we talked about in the class, and the statement from Science and Health is, man is incapable of sin, sickness, and death. Now, I remember, when I first read that, I thought it didn't make any sense to me. What do you mean man is incapable of sin, sickness, and death? I knew a lot of people that were very capable of sin, sickness. But the explanation in that class was so good. And the explanation was, in this sentence, Mrs. Eddy was not talking about mortal beings. She was talking about the man that God created. And the explanation was, God is incapable of sin, sickness, and death. Therefore, his creation, the real man, the truth about me and you, is that the real man is also incapable of sin, sickness, and death. And Jesus knew that, and that is how he healed. Mrs. Eddy knew that, and that is how she healed. The apostles, the disciples, many people have learned that, and that is how they healed. God is a good God, and in his love for us, he would never bring anything that would harm us. Well, and I remember that was such an eye-opening explanation for me in that class. And when I was up in the middle of the night with this severe sore throat, I thought about that explanation, and it meant so much to me because it was so strong and so true. It was a matter of very few minutes that the pain in my throat left. I was able to sleep peacefully, and the pain was gone. It didn't return. It was that quick. Well, I'm so grateful, as I say, for the lessons that I've been learning, for the healings that I've had as a result of that, and for this tremendous way of life that Mrs. Eddy has discovered and given to us, because it's here for all mankind. And I'm so grateful to be here with you all tonight.
Thank you. Sandy from North Carolina, go ahead.
Hi, good evening. I'm very grateful for the teachings of Mary Baker Eddy, and I'm very grateful for the website. For a couple months, I was unemployed, and some situations been happen. My husband no longer working, and so I've been praying to get the job. I did pray, and I had the job. So now it's a job that I'm in training, and it's a lot of stuff. Before last Sunday, as I was learning the equipment, one day the equipment landing in my right hand and burned my hand. It was what people call first degree. Well, years ago, as I read the journals and some of the materials from Christian Scientist, a Christian Scientist nurse was talking about how a Christian Scientist work and how the work is done. So I was listening to the Sunday service, to the Wednesday service. I couldn't listen all because I needed to go back to training. I say my hands was burning. The next day, it was all inflamed. But I didn't do nothing. I just bended it and went about going back to the training. my husband Sean, who know about this wonderful church, and sometimes have opposed me. I was surprised as when I was leaving to work around 5 in the morning. He said to me, remember, you're a Christian Scientist. Remember what that you have learned at the independence. So I went to work. I put the bandage, and it was painful, but I continued reading the things in the website. On Sunday, I didn't have to work. I was listening to the Sunday service, and the hymn, his eyes are on the sparrow, and I know he watches over me. I start taking every word and do the synonyms of every word was the sparrow, that little bird. I get the bandage, wash my hands. The company wanted to send me to the doctor. Then they made me go to the doctors because workers' compensation. I went to the doctor. They took the bandage, and this happened today. First of all, they give me the days off because I told them I need to be at home to listen to the church service of my church. As I'm talking to you guys, I'm holding my cell phone in this hand. I had no pain. This is a first degree. That's what they call the mortal mind. Say, but I know it's no burning in the mind of God. It's the previous testifier, the first one or the second one, I don't remember. The lady's talking about the practitioner, about the situation that happened with her stepdaughter. And the practitioner tell her, you know, we are children of God. It's all love. Love never divides. And that's the teaching, the real teachings of Mary Baker Eddy. What a wonderful healing for her family. As we learn the it's God or Father, Mother. Let it handle it. Divine love, guide, protect. It's through this church, I get so many healings. I try very hard to try to teach my husband. So I took personal responsibility. I listened to the round tables. I just listened it for your website. And I leave my husband Sean to God, to Father, Mother, God. Now my husband enjoy quietly to listen it. And he said, remember who you are. You love that science and health and that independence. The work that you guys do is unbelievable. With social humility. The service on Sundays are amazing. I don't have no words of gratitude. I promised to myself I need to write a check and send it to the church. I wouldn't have this job. It wasn't for independence and the Christ, Mary Baker Eddy, and you wonderful practitioner, Miss Very Best. She's a wonderful practitioner. It's always love. It takes time to comprehend. It takes the word of eternity to understand that little book. It will give you indigestion, but it will be a blessing in your life. I'm so grateful for Independent Christian Science in New Jersey. I love it, and I pray for all of you, and to wish you nothing but the best with the love of God. Thank you for your readings tonight.
Thank you. Nancy from New Jersey, go ahead.
Good evening. Thank you for the beautiful and very inspiring readings tonight. I also wanted to express my gratitude for our Wednesday evening meetings. I look so forward to them every week, and I'm especially grateful for all the testimonies that are given at these meetings. Every Wednesday, I come away with many fresh and inspiring ways to apply Christian Science through hearing how other people apply this science in their lives. And I am truly so grateful to all of you who share your testimonies of gratitude and healings and blessings that you received. And I know firsthand that by the sharing of these testimonies, they do go on to bless others. In a testimony given recently by Mrs. Singletary, she had shared several verses from hymns that she used when praying for the belief of allergies or breathing problems. One particular verse was given from hymn 195, which was very helpful to me. Girt with the love of God on every side, I breathe that love as heaven's own healing air. I really loved that, and I started using it daily in my prayers, not only to counter the belief of allergies, but I worked with it for the belief of air pollution and many other false beliefs of breathing problems. And I was very grateful because I also had the opportunity to share this verse with a few other people in need. Several days ago, while I was outside doing a little yard work, I noticed how thick the pollen was on everything. I then began to get a sore throat that started to escalate pretty quickly, and my ears started to ache. I knew right away that I had entertained a wrong thought, and I quickly turned to that verse, repeating it over and over and knowing that God's love was all around me and that the only air I could possibly breathe was God's love as heaven's own healing air. And as quickly as the sore throat came, it left. And I was able to stay outside for quite a while and complete what I needed to do with no ill effects. It was to me truly proof of a blessing received from a testimony shared. I'm so grateful to God for this blessing. I'm so grateful for all the testimonies every week. And I'm so grateful for my practitioner's support and all that we are given in this beautiful church. Thank you.
Thank you. Lenny from North Carolina, go ahead.
Thank you. And thank you, Amanda, for those amazing readings tonight. One of the first things you read in Psalms, I believe it says, "It is good for me that I have been afflicted, that I might learn thy statutes." I had to kind of chuckle to myself because I can't say that I've always really kind of embraced that attitude when it comes to challenges. Sometimes I've been a little curmudgeonly about having to, get into the fray. But I will say these last few months have shown me the blessing that comes with challenges, even challenges that seem to be more prolonged. We've been living up in North Carolina at a rental home that we have, and we're looking for our new permanent home. And we didn't think it would take this long to find. It's been quite a while, and I had found myself sort of chafing at the delay, especially because we found ourselves in a situation with our next door neighbors who believed that something unkind was said from us about them, and they became extremely cold and distant and unfriendly, despite our numerous attempts at trying to get to the bottom of the situation and trying to figure out where this misunderstanding came from. They haven't wanted to listen, and it was making things really uncomfortable living up here because the houses up here are very close together, and you're kind of right on top of everybody, and you can't really. It's not like you can just go and hide from the situation, hide from your neighbors. So I was feeling very uncomfortable, and I found myself getting angry because, we'd made all these attempts and we're getting rebuffed at every attempt. And I just found resentment starting to set in. So I realized that, okay, well, we're not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. I need to stop indulging in this, and I need to start praying. And so I was praying very diligently about it, and would often have really wonderful inspirations. But it would seem that right after that, something would happen. We'd get a little passive aggressive text, or something would happen that just would tell me, oh, well, the situation's not changing. And, that really would sometimes get me off track. And there was times I considered just throwing up my hands and saying, you know what, forget it. These are awful people and there's nothing I can do. And but it was interesting. There was one evening I was, I think I just opened up Science and Health, and I was reading Atonement and Eucharist. And Mrs. Eddy says, love is not hasty to deliver us from temptation, for love means that we shall be tried and purified. And there, she talks about other things too, about, don't give up in the smoke of battle. When when that clears, you'll see what you've gained. And it was just kind of like something lifted in my thought. It's just like, sometimes it takes more than just one inspiration, or, sometimes it takes that consistency. It takes just saying, I don't care what you throw at me. I'm not going to yield. And that was kind of the turning point for me, that it lifted something in my thought. And I just said, nope, I'm going to double down on this. And every time the temptation came to see them incorrectly or to be angry, I just said, no, I know what the truth is. We'd actually prior to this incident, had some wonderful experiences with them. And I was like, that is the truth, and this other is the lie, and that's the end of it. And it's been interesting because as the months have worn on, things did finally I started to thaw. And it was like little things at first, where suddenly they just, would say hi, or before they wouldn't say anything. Or suddenly out of the blue, several weeks ago, the wife just engaged me in conversation out at the mailbox, and was very pleasant. And then the other week, they approached us and said, hey, noticed you guys like to fish, want to sell us we were looking to sell our fishing kayak. We'll give you a great deal. It was super harmonious, very friendly. And it just feels like something has lifted, because it's just like we've had several interactions now that have been much more pleasant. And when I was listening to the readings tonight, it brought that back to me. With you have to be consistent, and you have to be constant during this affliction, especially if it feels to be prolonged. Mrs. Eddy says in prayer, the principle is already established. It's our job to work out the solution. So personal sense sometimes wants to be sticky, but I've been very grateful to kind of have this experience now, because I've realized how strong it's made me in terms of not giving up and not yielding in the battle. So I just wanted to share that and just share my gratitude for that. I'm very grateful for this church. I'm very grateful for the example that Christ Jesus and Mrs. Eddy. Goodness, Mrs. Eddy certainly didn't give up in the thick of things, and she had so many things that came at her. But her life is a testament to the fact that you never yield to it. So grateful for that. Grateful to be here tonight, and thank you everybody for all your testimonies tonight.
Thank you. Dede from Georgia, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm grateful for all that I've learned and am learning about the goodness of God through this church. Over the years, I've become more familiar with the various articles provided on our website, as well as passages from the Bible, all which come to mind to help me in times of need. This week, I've been thinking of Proverbs 3, verses 5 to 6. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. This has already come to me many times this week, and it's a reminder that this is the only way for me to live right, to live well, and to be of any use to anyone, while working through any challenges or conflicts that come about. Rather than trying to figure things out or even plan things out, I need to spend more time looking to God, talking to Him, listening closely for His voice, doing my absolute best to follow Him obediently and patiently, and thanking Him all the way for what He's already done. It's been proven to me over and over that this is truly the only thing that helps and the only thing that heals. I'm so grateful for this and again for everything that I'm learning through this church. Thank you so much, Amanda, for tonight's reading, and thank you everyone for all the testimonies given. I'm very grateful to be here tonight.
Thank you. Christina from Mexico, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. I'm very happy to be here with you. Thank you for inspiring readings. For many years, I suffered from sleep disorders. Eventually, it got worse, and it became chronic insomnia some days a week. Sometimes I prayed about that, but without faith or spiritual understanding. For me, it seemed like something I could not fight against, even knowing Christian Science. And even I started taking pills of melatonin. Now I realized I was behaving very passive and weak about that. We know animal magnetism always wants us to be apathetic. However, thanks God and His ever-present and enlightened Christ, recently here at Plainfield, I rebelled against this suggestion that insomnia was something inevitable in me. I stopped taking melatonin pills, and I started praying with determination about this issue. Each night, I began to recognize strongly that my being rests in truth and love divine, and that divine mind not only protects me from suggestions during what we call day, but also during what we call night. Its protection is present every moment, forever, every instant. I have also been reading Mrs. Eddy's evening prayer, which is included in the Blue Book. It is a very beautiful and effective prayer. Today, I feel very grateful because my nights have improved a lot and have become much more harmonious. In Christian Science, we learn that as children of God, we have dominion over any belief, and insomnia is a belief like others, the belief of another power besides God. My nights are better, and therefore my days are better too. I'm grateful for the metaphysical support I am receiving from the practitioners of the church and for all the work of the Plainfield members. The spirit of the church is great. Thanks for the reading room 24/7 and for the wonderful roundtables. Every week they are so illuminating and instructive. Finally, I am so grateful to participate in the Unity Watch, so necessary for the world, and for the emphasis the church is putting on having a proper appreciation of Mrs. Eddy as the discoverer and founder of Christian Science. What a great blessing her spiritual mission represents to all mankind. God bless you all. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Florence from Georgia, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Amanda, for the beautiful readings. And I'm just so grateful that you repeated those Psalms that comfort us so much. That saying in Psalm 121, that God slumbers not, has always been a comfort to me. That our loving Father, Mother slumbers not. He is, or she is, an ever-present, omnipotent, omniscient, omni-action God. It's beautiful. I was reading an article by Louise Knight Whitley this week. It says waiting hours. And I've never really made that association, but she refers to the hymn 207, O gentle presence, peace and joy and power, O life divine that owns each waiting hour. I was so struck by that today because sometimes we are waiting for something, or we think we should be waiting for something instead of right now knowing God's presence here and now. And it's wonderful or comforting to know that even those waiting hours, God owns them all. So He's in it, and we are in it, not alone. So we need not fear, we need not cry, we need not just lean on Him. I am so comforted by that, and I wanted to share that to comfort others who are also so-called waiting. God made all things perfect, and we are only correcting the false sense that mortal minds sense us. I'm so grateful to be here, so happy testimony, and it just warms my heart to know that Mrs. Eddy, this woman, sacrificed her life to give us this truth, to give all mankind this truth. So grateful to be here tonight.
Thank you.